The day I discovered my husband was having an affair, I had just come back from the hospital when I got a call from his assistant. Grayson Martinez had gotten into a fight with the project manager during a drinking party. I looked down at my rounded belly, 6 months pregnant, and wondered how he, the calm, collected husband I knew, could lose control like that. I rushed to catch a taxi, my heart pounding, my mind racing. Was something serious going on? He had never acted this way before. On the way there, the assistant gave me a quick rundown over the phone. Just because while pouring wine, the project manager stared at Chloe a little too long and accidentally brushed her hand. Grayson, who had always kept his emotions in check, suddenly lost control and threw a punch. I gripped the phone tightly, my face etched with worry. Chloe Bennett, his new assistant. How was she caught up in this? Why did he have to protect her to such an extent? When I arrived, the scene outside the restaurant left me frozen. Chloe was crying, tears running down her cheeks, carefully dabbing medicine onto Grayson's injured face with a cotton swab. Her expression was full of worry and tenderness, like a lover taking care of her man. Grayson sat there, his face slightly swollen, his eyes fixed on her with sorrow. I stood at a distance, holding my belly, feeling like my heart was being crushed. Chloe said, her hands never stopping their work, "Director Grayson, you shouldn't have gotten so emotional, ruining a multi-million-dollar project. Because of me isn't worth it." Grayson frowned, his thick brows tightening in irritation, then gently wiped away the wet corner of her eye. His voice filled with pain. "How could it not be worth it? You're mine." His words trailed off, as if he realized he had almost said too much. "You're mine." What did he mean? Chloe kept applying the medicine, the distance between them so close it blurred, the air around them heavy with tension. Grayson turned his head away, avoiding her eyes, his expression uneasy. "You're my employee. How could it be nothing? I'm your boss. I can't just stand by and not interfere," Grayson continued, his tone trying to sound professional, but I could see the hesitation in his eyes. Chloe's tears welled again. She bit her lower lip, stubbornness and hope written all over her face. Then she asked, "Is that all? Am I just your employee?" Grayson didn't answer. He stayed silent, his face stiff as though torn inside. He picked up his coat, getting ready to leave, his movements quick, like he was running away. Chloe suddenly threw her arms around him from behind, her body pressed against his back, her voice choked. "If I had met you first, would you have married me?" Grayson stood still. He didn't push her away, but he didn't turn back either. He gave a slight shake of his head, his voice low. "We can't." He didn't deny his feelings. He only said it was impossible. Chloe stepped closer, rising on her toes to brush her lips against the corner of his mouth, bold and sudden. On the busy street, cars and people passing by, Grayson finally couldn't hold back anymore. He wrapped his arms tightly around her, his face torn between pain and desire. "I have a wife. The baby is coming soon. I can't get divorced," he said, like he was trying to convince himself. "Even if we're together, it won't lead anywhere. If you follow me, you'll only ever be the mistress. Even then, would you still accept that?" Chloe leaned against his chest, sobbing, her tears soaking his shirt, her voice desperate. "You clearly care about me so much. Why can't we be together?" "Divorce her. Marry me. Can't you? She can give you a child, but so can I." Her words pierced through me like a knife. Grayson didn't answer right away, but his arms around her only tightened, his face full of conflict. I stood there, holding my belly, my thoughts shattering. All those years together, all the promises, and now only this betrayal remained. That scene etched itself deep into my memory, and I knew our marriage had been changed forever. I sat in the car, watching the scene unfold before my eyes, my chest tightening like I could barely breathe. The last time I went out for coffee with some friends in the industry, one of them had gently warned me, her voice soft but filled with worry, as if afraid of hurting me. She said she had seen Grayson with a young woman, going in and out of a luxury hotel, their gestures strangely intimate. At that time, I still trusted him firmly, believing Grayson was the perfect husband who would never betray me. What did I say back then? I told my friends, with pride and confidence in my voice. That's impossible. Anyone can cheat. But not Grayson. He loves me too much. I know he does. Now, at this very moment, it felt like someone had slapped me hard across the face, burning and stinging, my cheeks hot like fire, my eyes raw but too shocked for tears to fall. I didn't have the courage to face them right then. I just wanted to get out of there as fast as possible. The car speeding through the crowded streets, the wind rushing in through the window, but unable to sweep away the pain gnawing at my heart. Everything had happened so suddenly. I didn't know how to face it, my mind tangled and chaotic. How could this be? We were about to have a baby. He still held me every night. How could it be like this? I needed time to process, to think it through. Curled up in the back seat, my hand stroking my pregnant belly, as if to find comfort from the child not yet born. That night, Grayson came home early, and in the quiet house, he walked in with a calm face, as though nothing had happened. I no longer greeted him like I always did. I just sat quietly on the sofa, my expression blank, my eyes staring into nothing, holding back the wave of emotions rising inside me. At the dinner table, he suddenly said, his tone light as if joking, but filled with meaning, "I've realized I don't love you the same as before anymore." Those words cut like a knife. I set my plate down with a soft clang, lifted my head to look at him, my eyes burning, tears ready to fall. "So what are you saying? Divorce?" Grayson paused for a moment, his face flashing with surprise before quickly softening, his eyes flicking to my 6-month belly, filled with hesitation and guilt. "I was just kidding. Don't be mad. You're pregnant," he said, his voice trying to sound cheerful, but I could hear the falseness in it. I felt suffocated, like my chest was crushed under a giant stone, the air suddenly heavy, my hands gripping the edge of the table to keep control. Inside my belly, the baby who had been quiet for days suddenly kicked hard, that kick like a reminder. In that moment, I felt so wronged, my throat choking. I couldn't hold it in anymore. A small sob broke out, and then the tears came uncontrollably, streaming down my cheeks, dripping onto the table, each hot drop burning my skin. Grayson's face shifted quickly from teasing to regret. He stood and came over to me, using his rough fingertips to gently wipe my wet eyes, his voice low and warm. "All right, don't cry." "It's my fault. I shouldn't have joked like that," he continued, his tone tender, before pulling me into his arms, his voice soothing. "Is the baby misbehaving again, making you uncomfortable?" he asked, sounding cheerful, then bent down, pressing his ear against my belly, his expression full of affection, his eyes shining like he was really talking to our child. "Hey, sweetheart, it's Daddy," he whispered, his hand stroking my belly softly. "You have to be good in Mommy's tummy. Don't make her more tired, okay?" His words sounded sweet, but in my head, all I could see was the image of him holding Chloe, my thoughts in chaos. "I don't understand. What went wrong in our marriage? Why did he cheat?" In the middle of the night, I woke up quietly, only to find half the bed cold and untouched, the blanket and pillow still in place, as if no one had ever lain there. Grayson was gone. I heard the soft sound of footsteps outside on the balcony, then the flicker of light from the cigarette he was smoking. Ever since I got pregnant, he had quit smoking, for my health and the baby's. I looked through the glass door and saw cigarette butts scattered across the balcony floor, like shattered pieces of the promises he once made. If it were before, I would have worried, would have cared, wondering if something had happened at the company. Was the work pressure too much? But now I knew he wasn't troubled by work. He was troubled because of Chloe. I lowered my gaze to my rounded belly. The baby inside seemed to sense my pain, gave a soft kick, like whispering, "Don't cry, Mommy." A bitter ache spread through my chest, but I didn't go to comfort him, nor did I look at him again. I just turned around, quietly walked back into the room, each step heavy as though dragging the weight of the whole world. The next morning, when I finally stepped out of the bedroom, Grayson was already in the kitchen, wearing the blue apron I once bought him for our anniversary, his expression bright as if nothing had happened. Since I got pregnant, I had become picky with food, but Grayson, the man who had never been good at cooking, had taken it upon himself to learn, carefully preparing pregnancy-friendly meals. "Lacey?" Grayson called, his voice gentle, his smile warm like morning sunlight as he carried a plate to the table, setting it down with the care of handling a treasure. "Come eat breakfast. I made your favorite mac and cheese, and there's pumpkin soup too." I stared at him blankly, for a moment feeling dazed, as if the man holding Chloe yesterday wasn't him, as if it had all just been a nightmare I had imagined. Grayson pulled out a chair for me, his movements gentle and thoughtful, just like when we were newly married. I picked up the spoon, stirred the soup in the bowl, but my appetite was gone. Halfway through the meal, Grayson suddenly spoke, his tone casual, like talking about the weather. "I have to get to the office early. There's something I need to take care of." I stopped stirring, the spoon clinking against the bowl, the small sound echoing in the silence of the room. I looked at him, my face stiff, forcing my voice to stay calm. "What's so urgent?" But he only smiled, stood up, and brushed his hand gently over my hair. "Just company stuff. Don't worry." Last night, when he had fallen asleep, I had unconsciously picked up his phone. The screen lit up, and Chloe's message appeared. "Tomorrow is my birthday. Can you come be with me? There's something I want to tell you. Think of it as my birthday wish." My hands trembled as I scrolled back through all their previous chats. Nothing too obvious, no blatant words of love, but the intimacy in the way they spoke suffocated me. Every day they greeted each other in the morning and at night, like a ritual they couldn't skip. He called her by her name, Chloe, not Miss Bennett, like he did with other colleagues. I scrolled higher, my heart growing colder with every older line I read. On my birthday, I had prepared a big dinner, carefully arranging all his favorite dishes, wanting nothing more than to surprise him. I wanted to tell him I was pregnant, that we were about to have our little family. He told me he was away on a business trip, that he couldn't make it back in time, his voice full of guilt over the phone. I didn't blame him. I even reassured him. "It's okay, you're busy, we'll celebrate another time." But what was he actually doing? He took Chloe camping, holding her tightly in the forest, and she even posted on Instagram. "In a world where no one knows us, we are the couple everyone envies. And you are my boyfriend." On the 20th of last month, after my prenatal checkup, I just wanted Grayson to see a movie with me. Just a simple evening like any other couple. He said he was busy at the office, promised to make it up next time, his voice full of regret. I nodded, smiled over the phone, believing he was really busy. But instead, he went to an amusement park, went to the movies. With Chloe. A friend's Instagram post showing her beaming beside him shattered my heart. I sat there, the bowl of soup growing cold in front of me. The baby inside me gave another soft kick, as if reminding me that I wasn't alone. But the pain of betrayal was not so easy to erase. I looked out the window, the morning sunlight streaming in, but it couldn't warm the frozen heart inside my chest. Today is the weekend. I had called Grayson's assistant this morning, his voice hesitant, but confirming that Grayson had no overtime today. He was lying to me. Grayson rushed upstairs with hurried footsteps and disappeared into the dressing room. I heard him rummaging through the closet, then calling down with a cheerful but fake tone. "Lacey, which tie looks better? The blue one or the silver gray?" I really didn't have the heart to listen to any of that. my head still spinning with Chloe's messages and photos. My hand gripping the spoon so tightly my knuckles turned white, my face blank like a ghost. I replied perfunctorily, my voice cold. Either one is fine. My husband was dressing up to meet another woman, yet still asked me to help him choose his outfit. Half an hour later, Grayson finally came down, wearing a sharp black suit with the blue tie neatly knotted, a faint masculine cologne drifting around him, his face bright like he was about to meet an important client. He even carefully brought me a plate of washed fruit, setting it in front of me. He reminded me, his voice gentle but rushed. If anything happens, call me or get the maid to help. Rest well, I stayed indifferent, not responding, my eyes staring blankly at the fruit tray, my face cold as ice. He noticed my mood wasn't right, paused, then hugged me tightly from behind, pressing a kiss to my forehead. I lifted my head, looking at the man before me, with his handsome face, square jaw, deep eyes. I didn't want to lose my marriage. I didn't want my child to be born without a father's love. Maybe this was just a mistake. I tried to justify, tried to convince myself to give him one more chance, for both him and me. With difficulty, I opened my mouth, trying to hold on, my voice trembling. Can't you not go? Grayson froze. His expression flickered with surprise before softening. He gently stroked my tangled hair, his hand gliding over it. I have to work, to earn money for my wife, and for the baby's milk. Be good. I'll try to come home soon to the two of you. I forced a smile. All right, go. As soon as I spoke, Grayson's figure disappeared behind the front door. The sound of it slamming echoed through the large house, leaving me with a deathly silence. I sat alone in the living room for a long time. So long, the evening light crept through the window, staining the floor red. The maid entered with a worried look, her voice soft. What would you like for dinner? Will Mr. Martinez be home to eat? It took me a long time before I lifted my head from my phone, looking at the fading sunset outside. Don't make any for him, he won't be back. On my phone screen, the little dot from the tracker I'd installed on his phone last night was still moving. Today, he'd been to many places. Just now, stopping by a flower shop, then a cake shop. Now the dot had stopped, frozen at the Four Seasons Hotel. My phone buzzed, a text from Grayson. Sorry, darling, I still have some work left. It'll be really late. Don't wait for me. I angrily knocked over the fruit tray, apples rolling across the floor, grapes scattering, then threw the glass of water, glass shattering with a crash, water splashing onto my legs. I grabbed my bag with furious movements, my hand trembling as I pulled the zipper, preparing to leave. The maid, startled by my sudden action, looked panicked but quickly went to tell the butler to get the car ready. Soon, the car was waiting at the door. I rushed into the back seat. Four Seasons. The car stopped at the hotel entrance. I grabbed my bag and strode quickly into the lobby, my heels clattering against the polished marble floor. I showed the receptionist Grayson's photo on my phone, my voice firm but trembling. The man named Grayson is my husband. I want to know what room he's in. The receptionist looked uneasy, her expression hesitant, a flicker of pity in her eyes, like she had seen this scene too many times. I'm sorry, ma'am. We can't disclose guest information, she said, her voice professional but full of sympathy. Maybe they already guessed why I was here. They pitied me? I hated that look, hated how they saw me as a victim. I had no mood to argue, my hand already reaching for my phone to call the police when the hotel manager approached, his face calm after understanding the situation. Maybe because he saw I was pregnant, or maybe because he didn't want the police called and risk the hotel's reputation. He had someone check which room Grayson was in. When the elevator dinged open, I stood outside the door for a long time. The fire I'd had earlier to tear my husband and his mistress apart had vanished, replaced by rising fear. I started to feel scared of everything about to happen, my hand trembling as I raised it, taking a deep breath. Before knocking. The sound was soft but echoed down the silent hallway. The moment the door opened, our eyes met. The air went dead still, no sound but my pounding heartbeat. Grayson's hand still on the doorknob, frozen in place, his face shocked and stunned, his eyes wide like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Behind him came a woman's coy voice. "Grayson, hurry up, I'm ready!" Chloe's eyes went wide, her red painted nails covering her mouth, as she quickly hid behind Grayson when she saw me. I clenched my fists, staring at the two of them standing together, forcing myself to stay calm, my voice cold. "Ready for what?" Chloe's slender arm hadn't even wrapped around Grayson yet before he panicked and pushed her away, the sudden force making her stumble. He turned to me, stammering, "Honey, don't misunderstand." I braced myself, stepping back, my face full of rage, my voice low and sharp. "Don't touch me!" Grayson froze in place, his hands dropping, his face pale. I looked at the woman behind him, Chloe in a tight black spaghetti-strap dress, makeup both innocent and seductive, sharp eyeliner, red lips. I pointed at him. "Didn't you say you were working overtime at the company? Didn't you say you were busy earning money for the family? Then why are you here at a hotel with her?" Grayson's face turned ashen, his hands rubbing together nervously. "Honey, it's not what you think. There's really nothing between us. I can explain." Smack! I slapped him hard, the sound sharp in the room, my fingers trembling as I pointed at the bright red lipstick mark on his shirt collar, a stain like guilt itself. "Grayson, I'm pregnant, but I'm not blind." "What the hell are you doing?" Chloe screamed, her voice shrill with anger. She stepped in front of Grayson, glaring at me like a cat with its fur raised, her face full of aggression, as if I were the one destroying someone else's family. "Lacey, even if you're Grayson's wife, you have no right to hit him." I almost laughed from the rage, my blood rushing to my head, my voice a growl. "And what are you? What right do you have to criticize me?" She straightened her back, speaking as if it were only natural, her voice full of confidence. "Because Grayson said he likes me, we both have feelings." Chloe deliberately emphasized the last words, her eyes challenging me. My hands shook with fury as I turned to Grayson. "Is that what you think too?" Grayson's face darkened, his voice harsh as he snapped at Chloe. "Shut your mouth." "Who my wife is none of your business," he added angrily. Chloe stared at him in disbelief, her face stunned. "She hit you first. I was only trying to help you." Grayson impatiently shoved her aside, the movement rough, then turned to me, lowering his voice to plead, "Lacey, let's go home, okay?" Let's go home. Back at the house, Grayson sat across from me on the sofa. "I was wrong, Lacey. Today's her birthday. She doesn't know anyone in New York City. I just had dinner with her. Nothing crossed the line." I let out a cold laugh, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Taking her to a hotel for a birthday dinner? Grayson, do you think I'm stupid? She just wanted a special birthday, something different." "But really, I didn't do anything with her," he explained, his face full of regret, but I could see the lies. "What does her birthday have to do with you?" "You're my husband, not her boyfriend." I grabbed his collar, my hand tightening on the wrinkled fabric, my voice rising with pain. "And before you talk, look at your collar, your cheeks. The lipstick's still there." I pointed at the red stain. "Tell me, at what point do you consider it cheating? Do I have to see you and her in bed with my own eyes before you call it betrayal?" By the end, my voice broke, ragged beyond recognition. Grayson froze, his lips moving, but no words coming out, his face full of guilt. I took a deep breath, lifting my head to look at him. "Grayson, let's get a divorce." He looked like he couldn't believe his ears, asking again, "What did you just say?" Yes, maybe he couldn't believe it, that someone who loved him so much, who had given up everything to start over with him, could leave him. I looked straight at his paling face, each word clear, my voice firm. "I said, I want a divorce." Grayson, with the same mouth that had kissed me thousands of times, spoke the words that shattered my heart, his voice trembling. "I'm just a normal man, yes. I slept with her. It was just a mistake. Why can't you forgive me?" My whole head buzzed, my ears ringing. I looked at the man before me and could barely stand. "Do you want our child to be born without a father?" he continued, his voice full of reproach. The moment he mentioned the baby, I couldn't hold it in anymore, sweeping everything off the coffee table, the crash of breaking glass echoing through the room, shards scattering. The baby! The baby! When you were cheating, did you think about the baby? I screamed, my voice breaking. Just a few more months, the child we had been waiting for would be born. We should have been a happy family, but now everything was destroyed. I lowered my head to my swollen belly, covering my face as I sobbed, hot tears falling onto the floor, my shoulders shaking. I didn't understand how he could say those words without shame. He'd had so many chances to stop, but he didn't. I had given him a chance for the baby's sake. He stubbornly chose to go with Chloe, and now he came back questioning me like I was the one at fault. Grayson, seeing me cry, stood there helpless, his face full of confusion, his hand raised but not daring to touch me. After a while, his voice softened. "I know I was wrong. It was just a moment of foolishness. I'll end it with her completely. Lacey, look at the baby and—" I wiped my tears, screaming wildly, full of despair. "Get out! I don't want to see you for one more second." Back in the bedroom, I began packing my luggage, my hands trembling as I dragged the suitcase out from under the closet, the sound of its wheels rolling across the wooden floor like it was dragging along the broken pieces of my heart. As I stepped out of the room, my eyes accidentally landed on the wedding photo hanging on the wall, the bride in the picture wearing a magnificent gown, smiling radiantly while holding Grayson's hand, his eyes looking at her with love. That bride, me from the past, surely never imagined there would be a day like today, the day everything would fall apart. I lightly touched the frame, and with a crash, it fell to the ground, glass shattering into pieces that sparkled like lost stars. On the photo, the once happy faces of me and Grayson were now marred with scratches, just like our marriage, broken beyond repair. The baby inside me, who had been calm, suddenly kicked hard, harder than ever before, making me freeze, clutching my belly as the sharp pain spread through me. Leaning against the cold wall, I tried to calm myself, whispering with a trembling voice, "I'm sorry, my love." The baby seemed to understand, giving one softer kick, as if to comfort me, but the ache inside my chest didn't ease. From the stairs, Grayson's low, heavy voice rang out, "Where are you going?" He stood there, his expression dark, his eyes fixed on the suitcase in my hand. Where was I going? I didn't even know myself. I only knew that, at this moment, I didn't want to see him for even one more second. I didn't look at him, just walked straight to the door. "Lacey Hayes!" Grayson called out loudly, for the first time using my full name, his voice filled with anger and confusion. "If you don't want to see me so badly, then I'll stay somewhere else for a few days." I didn't respond, just turned my face away. Grayson and I had met in college. He had been the one to pursue me first, 6 sweet years of love. Back then, I naively believed that in life, all one needed was to meet the person they loved and who loved them sincerely in return. And that was happiness. I had believed he was worthy of my whole life, that he would never let me down. But now he had left me with nothing, made me realize that men could divide their love and their body between 2 different women, and even if they didn't love the other, they could still sleep with her, still do that. The next afternoon, the maid knocked on my door, her voice hesitant. "Mrs. Martinez, there's a young lady here to see you." I never expected it would be Chloe, standing at the door in an elegant white dress, but her eyes full of arrogance. I said coldly, "Grayson isn't here. You can leave now." She stepped inside, unashamed. "I didn't come to see him. I came to see you. At first I had no intention of competing with you, but now I've changed my mind." Chloe walked right up to me, pushing out her chest, her voice haughty. "Lacey, I hope you can divorce Grayson." I stood silently, looking at her, a bitter laugh echoing inside my thoughts. She was both naive and ridiculous. Chloe went on, her voice full of confidence, as though declaring victory. I'm younger than you, prettier than you, and Grayson is very happy with me, especially in bed. What meaning does your marriage have if there's no love? I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms, but my voice stayed cold as ice. You should be asking Grayson why he won't sign the divorce papers, not asking me. I turned to the butler. Mr. Winters, please show her out. Chloe stood there, her expression flickering with surprise. Then she turned and left. Lacey, did you and Grayson have a fight? That was the first thing my mother-in-law, Linda Martinez, said as she walked into the villa, her voice gentle but full of concern, a flicker of worry on her face, as she looked at me curled up on the sofa. A fight? No, this wasn't a fight. This was betrayal. She sat down next to me. Husband and wife, arguments are normal, she continued, her voice soothing like she was comforting a child, her hand squeezing my shoulder lightly. You have to be forgiving. Understanding each other is the only way to last. I lifted my head, looking straight into her eyes, my face stiff, my voice cold but trembling. Mother, in your eyes, no matter what he does wrong, am I supposed to act magnanimous and forgive him? Linda gave a small smile and shook her head, her tone full of protective affection for her son. He's a man. His career comes first. If he's busy and doesn't have time for you, then as his wife, you need to sympathize with how hard he's working. Her words cut into my heart like a knife. Yes, it was exactly because I understood, because I trusted he was working hard, that it led to today's betrayal. I had silently endured the nights he came home late, the long business trips, thinking he was doing it for the family. Seeing my face darken, Linda joked lightly to ease the tension. Why act like Grayson's committed some unforgivable sin? Surely he didn't cheat. Impossible, she chuckled, patting her thigh like she was telling a funny story, but that smile hurt more than anything. While she was still joking, I spoke calmly, my voice even but full of resolve. Yes. He cheated. That's why I want a divorce. The smile on Linda's face froze. She stared at me, eyes wide, her expression shifting from cheerful to shocked, her hands suspended midair like she couldn't believe what she'd just heard. What did you just say? She shook her head rapidly, disbelief etched on her face. My Grayson? Impossible. My son isn't that kind of man. My hand trembled as I unlocked my phone and handed it to her, showing the photos I'd taken. Linda held the phone, her eyes glued to the screen, her expression shifting from doubt to horror as her fingers trembled, scrolling through each picture. She fell silent, just like I had then, saying nothing, sitting there, frozen. A long time later, she finally collected herself, let out a heavy sigh, her voice hoarse. Lacey, I know this is Grayson's fault. I'm not defending him, but I hope you two can sit down and talk clearly, because you both still have responsibilities to the baby. I shook my head. I've already given him his chance. He didn't take it. Linda's gaze fell to my pregnant belly, her eyes full of worry. But what about the child? The baby needs a father. I stroked my belly, the baby giving a soft kick as if to comfort me, my voice quiet but firm. The baby in my belly may not need a father. I wasn't even sure if I would keep this baby, but if I did, I would give it everything I could. I took the divorce papers from my bag and placed them on the table in front of Linda. Please give this to him. The asset division is clearly stated in the papers. If he disagrees, he can contact me. I had hired a lawyer to draft the papers the day after I came back from the hotel. I had called him to talk about divorce, but he kept hanging up, his voice angry and dismissive. I don't agree. Even when I said I would take him to court, he still refused. That was the last thing he said to me before hanging up this morning. Lacey, the car is here. The maid entered. I nodded. I'm coming. Linda grabbed my hand in a panic. Lacey, where are you going? Calm down, don't act impulsively. I looked at her, gently but firmly, pulling my hand back. I'm going back to Chicago. I flew back to Chicago, sitting on the plane with sunlight streaming through the window onto my pregnant belly, the baby giving a soft kick as if to remind me it was still there. The moment I stepped into the house, "Lacey!" My mother rushed toward me, wrapping me in her warm arms. The instant I saw her, maybe because I had been holding everything in for too long these past few days, I suddenly couldn't control myself anymore. I wanted to cry out loud, but only small sobs came, my shoulders shaking uncontrollably. My father stood beside us, quiet and stern, his deep eyes filled with worry as he looked at the two of us. My mother gently wiped my tears with her rough but warm fingers, then studied me for a long time, her gaze full of sorrow, as if she could see my broken heart. My father looked around and then asked in surprise, "Where's Grayson? Why isn't he with you?" At first, I didn't want to say anything, just because I didn't want them to worry, but seeing the concern in my mother's eyes, I knew I couldn't hide it. I told them everything about Grayson's affair, from seeing him holding Chloe outside the restaurant, to the intimate messages, to the night at the Four Seasons Hotel. My mother covered her mouth in shock as tears streamed down her face, while my father clenched his fists, his face darkening as if he wanted to smash something. "That bastard!" he muttered, his voice full of rage. My mother asked gently, though her tone carried worry, "What do you plan to do next? Do you want to have this baby?" I stroked my belly, my thoughts in turmoil. Could I really handle being a single mother? But then I lifted my head, my voice firm. "This is my child." My mother squeezed my hand, her eyes red, but her lips curved in a faint smile. "Whatever you decide, your father and I will support you." While we were talking, my father had already called Grayson. I didn't know what they said. Then he also called my brother, telling him to cut off all business ties with the Martinez family. He told me to do whatever I needed to do, not to carry any guilt. I gave my lawyer full authority over the divorce and spent my time taking care of myself and the baby. I had grown up in a family filled with love, so I believed that even if my child was born without a father, it would be fine. I would give this child the best life I could, loving it with everything I had. On the day of our divorce, I went to court, my heavy belly slowing my steps, but every one of them was steady. Grayson was already standing outside the courthouse, as if he had been waiting a long time. We didn't speak, we just silently walked into the hall. When the judge's gavel came down, the dry sound echoing through the room, 6 years of marriage between me and him officially came to an end. I stood up, holding my belly, ready to leave, when Grayson called out, "Lacey!" I stopped, not turning back, my voice cold. "What is it?" He stubbornly asked. "If that hadn't happened, do you think we would still be happy now?" But the past was already gone, and words no longer had meaning. For us, there would be no afterlife is perhaps like that, endlessly circling between gain and loss, between regret and letting go. I walked forward without looking back, his figure fading behind me like a chapter closing. From this moment on, I would walk toward freedom, without Grayson, without pain, just me and my child, heading toward a new future. I would give my child a life full of love, just as my parents had given me. If it were you, standing in front of a marriage broken by betrayal, would you choose to forgive and hold on, or walk away with strength to save yourself? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to join me in the next stories. Every bit of your support is the strength that helps me continue telling these journeys filled with tears, pain, but also healing and hope.